Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to ask each and every one of you to be upstanding for the national anthem of Namibia. Please remain standing for the national anthem of Zambia. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Coming up next, game 2 of match day 1, Namibia taking on Zambia.
I'm going to use it. That's all I have. I'm ready. Then back underway for the second match today. The Rugby Africa Under-20 Barthes Trophy. It is Namibia taking on Zambia in the second match of the day. Center referee will be Ronald Utimba from the Uganda Rugby Union. And then Julie Eme as his assistant referee. Namibia in blue and some colorful pattern at the front of the chest with white shorts. Zambia in black and then some orange, is it, with green and red. Black shorts as well. Playing from left to right on your screens is Zambia, and kicking off Namibia from right to left. Quickly underway Intentions made clear in the first game of the day between Zimbabwe and Cote d'Ivoire. Zimbabwe running away with the win at 55 points to 0. Namibia, who have won this championship 2 times since 2017, will need to match them or ensure that they go on into the semi-finals, and perhaps another chance to reclaim their trophy. Good line out from Zambia to get the game underway. First game was played under clear skies. This one, there's a steady downpour that has started at the Nyayo National Stadium. Booted straight into touch by the number 10, Tendai Cedric. So we shall have a line out exactly at the 22-meter mark for Zimbabwe, for Namibia rather. Six men in, line out, not successful for either of them. And Zambia still the first set piece, second set piece of the game. Good set play, the backs in the pocket, very good depth, and a good kick that has no concern for the fullback Van Steen, who has lost that in contact. And it's a penalty for players arriving off their feet against Zambia. Ethan Roderick Koopman finds good touch inside the 22. For Namibia, the other set piece was across the pitch. This one will be at the same tangent, but on the other end of the touchline. Five-man line out with the number 9 playing just inside that hooker's position. Easy and quick. Tip on pass. Beautiful line from Kingsley Fasiminyoi, but he loses that ball in contact with the try line, just begging in front of him. Good tackle and innovation from Keely Robert, the fullback, to force that error, and Namibia looked like they were sure on their way to scoring the first points of this game. Play stopped for a suspected head injury to number 14, Chishimba Enoch. Zambia forced into an early change. Running on is Kabinga Richard at the wing. The protocol here is recognize, remove, and then assess if they are able to return to the playing field. Very experienced medics in charge of this tournament today. But we're back underway with the scrum feed, 5 meters off Zambia's touchline. A strong scrum from both teams. The pressure coming in from Zimbabwe, from Namibia rather. And Wutimba looking for that stability in the front row, calls for a reset. Much better this time from both teams, but much better from Zambia, who have maintained their stability, and a scrum penalty against Namibia for driving upwards has given Zambia a get out of jail free card. That ball already into touch as Henrik Pedro van Schalkwyk attempts to keep it within the 4 lines of the playing field. Zambia maintain possession at this line out. It's now Lukusambala Mshek carrying it into contact over the gain line. They have advantage. A long kick towards the 22. And referee says that's not enough advantage for Zambia, so they will have the penalty just at their 10-meter line. That's a beautiful kick from Tendai Cedric. 30 or so meter territory gain for that line out. Zambia are playing a much more composed game. Still early days, but the bookmakers would expect Namibia to be running away with this one, but Zambia putting up a strong fight thus far in the action. Code movement at the line out. Lukusa carrying again, but this time caught behind the gain line. Into the open side. Tendai going for that cross kick, but well gathered by Namibia. Innovating and looking for space at the back is Devan Stein. And Namibia come back knocking inside the Namibia 22. Kick charge down and then now forced into touch. Possession changes hands about 3 times. But the resultant is a line out for Namibia just outside their 22. Lost forward, says Wutimba. So it's going to be a scrum feed for Namibia. Interesting shape of the backs. You have the winger in the pocket between the number 10 and 12. And then the rest of the back line in a deep, steep. Do they play it all the way to the outside edge? Do they kick and chase for that territory? The wet ball and surface permitting, this is going to be an interesting set play from Namibia. Off the best, the number 9, and then that inside pass to Owen Manuel Hawanga. Started at the wing last year. He's now in the midfield, and that ball has been lost on the floor in that attempted box kick by Henrik Emil Husselman. Scrum fit this time for Zambia. They've camped in this territory for quite some time. They should get some points on the board, having had one visit to the 22. And yet again, Mutimba making his expectations clear and known to the front row, and the stability that he needs for this set piece, especially in such tough conditions under this downpour. Pressure is coming in from Namibia. They have the advantage and the full penalty. Strong show of power by the tight 5 there. They made amends from the first scrum, driving parallel and forward to get that penalty and advance out of their own territory. None of the teams has been able to put their foot down in this game yet. Another set play for Namibia. They throw to the front of the line out, and now the backs can get to play, but the hands of Ethan Roderick not good enough to regather from that play. And to compound that error is another handling error on the floor by Nicholas Cornelius Hump to give Zambia a scrummage, yet another scrummage at the halfway point. More power from the tight 5, but Zambia are able to maintain possession. A big handoff there from Lukusa Mbalamshek. That's a heavy carry from the number 8. But he was not able to stay in the playing field, so it's going to be a line out for Namibia. But if the Namibians needed a message from Zambia about their intentions for today's game, that was it. Perhaps now they can wake up and get this game going with a very good line out. Box kick by Hasselman. It's kept inside and then regathered by left wing Henrik Pedro, who is forced into touch by the fullback Keely Robert. It's ping pong in terms of possession in this game so far. Line out for Zambia, scrummage for Namibia. Line out for Namibia, scrummage for Zambia. And now, line out for Zambia inside their territory. Clean and good at the front. And then now the loose forwards can get to play. Strong carrying from Mbewe Emmanuel. Skewed in that kick by Tendai Cedric. Straight into touch. These little errors, one by one, being committed by Zambia, bringing Namibia back into the game. The two Southern African countries being the first to face the ferocious weather of Nairobi. It can be on extreme ends at times, very hot at 9 o'clock, and now barely 11 o'clock, it's pouring down with the rain. Farian Bukes with that carry. Inside ball to Kodzia. Zambia contesting at that breakdown. There's a man on the floor, but referee says play on. Hawanga, tip on pass to Bukes again. Lost on the floor by Kitsings Lifasi. Double infringement inside the 22, so it's going to be scrum feed for Zambia. Test rugby can be really punishing, and it gets even harder in such conditions. The two coaches, Ruben Kandwire for Zambia and Ryan Delap for Namibia, sitting in the shed up in the television gantry. But they very well know the difficult conditions that their players are having to deal with in this one. Scrum feed for Namibia, 8-man pick, and then an 8-9 combination. Well secured by Henrik Emil. Just a few meters past the gain line. Carrying towards the uprights is Farian Bukes. The big men are choosing to carry it with some picking and driving. Third phase now. Kitsings Lifasi. Referee says we shall go back to the earlier infringement. Penalty for not rolling away. Decision time. Do we go for the uprights or do we go to the corner? Ethan Roderick Koopman indicates that he will be taking his first shot at goal. Finally, we get the scoreboard ticking through. Namibia's fly half Ethan Rodri Koopman. A penalty just to the left of the uprights. Struck with all intent and purpose for the former champions to lead by 3-0 against Zambia. It has taken quite a while, but finally they've got their campaign going. Deep kick there by Cedric Tendai. And Joachim Lospa has been caught just outside his 5-meter territory. There's a man in the pocket, but Husselman has opted to go for the box kick. It's a good kick that finds his opposite man, Mwale Mulenga. And then now Mutonga Fred, the captain, opting to play some football, loses the ball in contact. Advantage to Namibia. He was caught in no man's land by the chasing pack. Koopman with the box kick. Advantage was over almost immediately, and Zambia regained possession. Tendai Cedric off the boot again. A low hit that bounces into touch just 5 meters short of the halfway line. A quick reminder that you can catch all these games live at the Nyayo National Stadium. Ticket prices are 100 Kenya shillings for ordinary access and 1,000 for the VIP section. Students with their school IDs and uniform will be granted free access to this ground for the Rugby Africa Under-20 Barthes Trophy. Namibia in possession. Owen Hawanga to his midfield partner. Backwards, says the referee, and then backwards again. Zambia making Namibia's life hard in this context. In this contest rather, but they had crept up offside. Had that breakdown. Koopman opts to go for touch. And as expected in these conditions, it's going to be a low-scoring match. As long as the rain continues to pour down, tricky conditions, wet ball, wet surface. Teams having to adjust their strategies in this tropical African weather. Strong carrying from Herman Kotzia. The loose head prop, and now the loose forwards into action. Bukes with a strong carry, breaking tackles for fun. Owen Hawanga cutting back inside, staying on his feet, and then finally getting to the floor. Koopman now not able to gather, but it's recovered by Theo Gehaz Linveld. Michael Johannes now. Was that forward to Lospa on that tip on play? Referee says play on, and then it's lost on the floor by Namibia. Well rescued by Tendai Cedric. Namibia making unforced errors, and Zambia can clear their territory deep inside the Namibia half. Not gathered well by fullback Divan Stein. He's inside his 22. Has a man on the outside, uses him, running straight with options. And then that switch back to Stein, who is forced into touch by the little man, Mwale Mulenga. The games are also being streamed live on Rugby Africa and Kenya Rugby Union Facebook channels for those that cannot make it here in Nairobi, the city, and other African cities. It's the first water break of the game, and ironically, under these heavy rain conditions, the players need to sip some water. Back underway. And Zambia, as it stands, are playing the better rugby, both in possession and in territory. And oops, for that commentator's curse as Tendai boots it straight into touch. Line out stolen by Zambia in that 4 position. And then now to the pocket, clearing their territory beautifully to Stein, covering that outside space. The fullback is isolated but offloads to the blindside winger, Henrik Pedro. picked off the base for the Bucks to play. Dummy run and then to that short ball for Stein. He loses it in contact. And Zambia have turned over possession. There's acres of space at the back, but the forwards need to first set with that carry from Musonda Shilenge. Tendai has been busy off the boot, but not exactly efficient as he sends another kick straight into touch. And play will resume from the mark where he kicked it from with a line out. Not sure if at this moment Namibia are battling the elements or there's a bit of a disconnect between how they are playing and the expectations. But this man, Kissings Lifasi, carrying strong and then offloading to Owen Hawanga. Hawanga is a finisher.
Try time, Namibia.
From playing at the wing, shifts inside to the midfield and he scores Namibia's first try of the game. Owen Manuel Hawanga. He was at the end of a good carry from Kitsings Lifasi. And Namibia have finally got the try they've been looking for. They now lead by 8.0. Conversion to come.
Conversion is successful, ladies and gentlemen, of the boot of Ethan Rodriguez Koopman. To get the extra 2 points for Namibia, taking the scores to Namibia 10, Zambia 0.
Conversion easy and successful for Koopman. So Namibia finally into the double figures. They lead by 10.0. That's a good kick, finding Yokom Lospa. And then the cross kick well fielded by Simba Enoch, going strong and carrying beautifully to get close to the 22-meter line. And then now the forwards into the action. Lukusambala Mishek. There's hands in that track, advantage for not releasing, says Wutimba. And then the full penalty now. A quick indication for the uprights. Cedric Tendai will be taking a shot at goal. Tendai's first attempt for points is not successful. So it's just wide of the right upright. Play is going to resume with this 22-meter kick by Ethan Roderick Koopman, who sends it straight into touch. So Zambia have a decision to make, line out at the 22 or a scrummage, they opt for the throw. Well gathered, but that pass not the cleanest to the big man Lukusambala, and the possession has been turned over by Namibia. Ooh. And characteristic error from Lifasi. No advantage gained there after the handling error. It's a wet ball, so passes need to be soft and to the hands. Driving upwards, Namibia, but referee says there was a handling error at the back of that scrummage by the 8th man, Lukusa. So it's going to be a scrum feed for Namibia, who have applied as much pressure as they could in that set piece, the tight 5. Philippas, Andre Herman, Michael Johannes and Theo Gerhardas. They have the possession now, so the pressure has shifted hands. The backs pointing where they intend to run. Off the base and charged, but it's fallen to Owen Hawanga, who has lost that ball in contact on that attempted offload. A man playing the ball on the floor is always going to be penalized because rugby is played on the feet. Hawanga losing that ball forward and attempting to recover. He gives Tendai Cedric a bold call to go for points from around 48 meters and a tight angle to the right touchline. Tendai Cedric gives it a good thump, but not good enough to go straight through the uprights. And Namibia decide to play on Koopman in the pocket, finds some touch, but inside the 22. Namibia making the right decisions at the moment, taking as many chances as they can for points. When not successful, they apply the pressure to keep their opponents, Namibia, deep inside their territory. Perhaps one of these efforts will yield some points for them in this game. They trail by 10 points to 0 as the clock ticks towards the halfway point of this match. Straight to the front of the line out and then turned over by Namibia. Another box kick by Husselman. Well fielded and then an up and under for the chest. Fred claims he has been impeded in the chest, but referee says play on. And then Owen Hawanga, the try scorer, also has a heavy boot on him in the pocket and gives it a good thump into touch. It's a net gain for Namibia. They came from inside their 22 and they're now 40 meters ahead from the mark where this phase of play started. Namibia slowly advancing forward, but Zambia maintaining possession. Yet another handling error, but this time from Zambia. No advantage gain, says Utimba, and so we shall have that first scrummage. Shall have a scrummage off that first handling error, rather. Namibia's ball to feed. Namibia were finalists last year, losing by 19 points to 14 against the eventual champion Zimbabwe. They've won this championship twice consecutively in 2017 and 2018. But since then, it's been Kenya and Zimbabwe that have been at the top of age grade rugby in Africa. A little bit too eager, the Namibians, to get this scrimmage underway. Hawanga carrying into contact, but brought down by his opposite man. And then now in the pocket, was that a knock on? Yes, says the referee. And there's going to be a penalty for tackling without wrapping. And so Utiba says, let's have a penalty at the point where the ball landed first. Tendai given instructions to find touch, so Zambia can play off the line out in Namibian territory. To the front of the line out, and then a long pass out wide to Tendai from his halfback partner. A dummy run and carry from Wape Perry, but returned with interest with such a heavy tackle from Kistings Lifasi. Penalty goes the way of Zambia, and Tendai opts to go for points. For all intents and purposes, Zambia need to put some points on the board before we go into the break. This one is a little bit straight in front of the uprights compared to the previous two attempts. And for a 33% kick accuracy, Tendai Cedric put some points on the board, getting some cheers from the Zimbabwe players in the players holding area cheering on their neighbors. This is the last play of the first half as Namibia take a 10-3 lead into the break. We'll be back at after halftime. 2023 in France, in Pool A against New Zealand and France. Teams that are expected to go all the way in that competition. Line out and driving maul, but the referee says that's obstruction. Smart defense from Zambia to outsmart them, knowing that they are going for the 5. It was always going to be a line out plus rolling maul, and Zambia have responded quite intelligently there. A good kick to get out of their red zone. And Namibia, who could have earned the 3 from that penalty, have walked away with nothing. Play to resume with line out. Smart movement from the loose forwards, and that's a very good long pass out wide. And kick for territory. Stein returns with interest, but hoofs it straight into touch. It's easy territory for Zambia, coming from just behind their 10 to outside the 10-meter territory. Stein not able to judge his bearings correctly. That's pyro kick, flying straight into touch. And Zambia can replicate that good line out with the 5 men in there. They go up straight, and Namibia steal it, but they fumble it. Lost forward by Maritz, and then his halfback Kotza coming in from an offside position makes it a full penalty. And like clockwork, Tendai Cedric calls for the kicking tee. Should he convert this one, Zambia will be within a converted try of Namibia. 12-17 is not a comfortable position, as I had said earlier, for Namibia. But Tendai Cedric with 50% kicking accuracy in this game so far will need to do much better with this attempt to the left of the uprights. And he does, passing with flying colors. Zambia inching closer to Namibia. They trail by 5 points, 17-12 the score.
3 points. Bring the scores to Namibia 17, Zambia 12.
And as a response, Namibia are bringing on 4 men. The objective now is not just to race away with the win, but to fight the comeback by Zambia in this game. 16, 17, 18 at the front row and 22 in the backs. It's Edward Brodsky, Lodesius Christian Daniel Karsten, Johan Brookman, and William Anthony Klazen to send Namibia into the semi-finals of this competition. Strong carrying there from Mwemba Charles, but running out of territory as he's forced into touch in a double tackle by the 2 substitutes, Sharonda and Maritz. Stolen at the front there. And it's going to be good exit from the blindside wing. Mtonga Fred. But that ball was taken back inside the 22, hoofing it straight into touch will result in no gain in territory. So Namibia can make amends with this line out. Stolen again at the front of that line out by Mumba Elijah. Zambia have read all the set piece plays prepared by the Namibians today. And that's an even better kick. Nicholas Onelias leaving it to bounce. Should have played it. Namibia have lost about 40 meters in territory in just one phase of play. We'll remind you of that decision to go for the 5 instead of the 3. And from that point on, it's been momentum towards Zambia, who have now crept to just a try away from Namibia. They trailed by 10 points to 3 at halftime, but as it stands, it's 17-12 towards the end of this game. Namibia making amends this time at the line out. Theo Heraldus Lindveld carrying strong. And now William Anthony Klazen fumbling with the ball and tackled just behind the gain line. Owen Hawanga putting it to boot. Keely Robert, the fullback, on the counter-attack, well secured by Zambia. The ball is open, so play on, says Wutimba. Carrying strong there. The Zambians to maintain possession. Deep pass to Tendai. Kicks it straight. Oh! Nicholas Cornelius cannot do anything right in this game today, and you can see his frustration as the mind games are being played by the Zambians. Mwape Perry getting the better of Cornelius. The earlier kick to Cornelius, he let it bounce into touch. Should have caught it. This one decided to catch it, but lost it forward, and Zambia have a scrum feed. Changes from both teams now. Rafael Zulu coming on, and Manfred Isak Herub preparing to jump on for Namibia. The Zambian change means Keely Robert shifts to the wing. This has the writings of an epic finish. Should Zambia score, they level the game and probably effect a huge comeback and upset. But Namibia can do just enough to ensure they progress to the semi-finals. Fullback Divan Stein clearing his territory, and that's an error that Namibia were hoping to get out of the Zambians. Knocked forward by the man that just jumped on Rafael Zulu. His first involvement in the game is a handling error in open space with no man in front of him. It's at the foot of the 8th man at the back of that line out, at that scrummage rather. But then lost forward by William Anthony and picked up by Tendai Cedric. Good defense from Zambia. And then now the backs can play hospital pass to the outside backs. Zambia maintaining possession but behind the gain line. Rafael Zulu, good kick behind the backfield, well gathered and retained by Mutonga Fred, the captain. Zambia maintaining possession and advancing forward. Fisonde Prince now. He has lost that ball forward. Now it's on the counter-attack from Namibia. Sharonda has also lost that ball forward. End-to-end stuff from both teams, but none making any success with ball in hand. Handling error on one side and handling error on the other side. Beginning their warm-up now is Tunisia, who will be taking on Madagascar, who finished 4th last year in the 3rd quarterfinal of the day. Tunisia were 5th place finishers in the competition that was held at this very venue exactly a year ago. It was Easter back then. And this time it is another holiday for another faith, the Muslim faith, who celebrated their Eid on Friday. Strong carrying from Kingsley Fassi, advancing about 10 meters and into the Zambian territory. They have the advantage. Johan Brockman. Players shuffling a bit outwards, but not gathered by William Anthony Klazen. No advantage gained means that Namibia will maintain possession. There are a couple of lessons learned in the earlier phase of play. And this time they make the safer decision to go for points instead of the corner. Kicking duties handed to William Anthony Klazen. This is the kick that will snuff out all hope from Zambia's comeback. And save Namibia from an embarrassing defeat in the first match at the opening stage of this Rugby Africa Under-20 Barthes Trophy. Klazen does well off that kicking tee. Namibia are out of try trouble from Zambia. They are now 20 points to 12. Leading in this one. They're doing just enough for the win, but they need to hold off a stubborn Zambia that have proved to be a tough nut to crack in this second quarter final of the day.
Coming up against
changes being prepared from
Madagascar side.
Namibia. It is Shota Patrick and Shabu Mwanaumbi coming to orchestrate a historic result for Zambia.
Kenya take on Uganda.
Deep kick for the restart now. Well received and well executed exit kick. Line out one by Zambia. Tendai now tipping it on to his midfield, Mwape Perry. Namibia holding them up. Maul has been called. This ball staying unplayable, or this Maul being stationary, will result in a turnover by Namibia, and that's what it is. The big boys putting the shoulders in and forcing that turnover. Namibia enjoying this territory, enjoying that 8 points buffer they have over Zambia. Namibia forcing that front row of Zambia to angle a bit downwards, but it's been stabilized there. And now Klazen can kick that ball into the open space. Very good chase from Nati Yase van Rensburg. Zambia have to exit their territory as quickly as they can. Not the best of passes to Cedric Tendai, perhaps the man of the match today. He gives a good kick that's well gathered by Stein, and then now Hawanga. Good offload by Maritz into space to the winger on the outside edge, Henrik Pedro, who's forced into touch, and now Zambia on the quick restart. Keely Robert to his midfielder, Mwansa Jo Emmanuel, who has lost that ball forward. The pressure was piling against him. I felt Kelly should have kicked that ball into the backfield on the kick chase. He has a man on his outside and in an onside position. The entire Namibian backfield was well inside their half. That would have been a better return for Zambia as opposed to that pass. But these are young men, an under 20 championship. This is a platform for the young men to express themselves, a platform for the young men to stand up and put their hands up for what could be an exciting rugby career on the African continent and in international test rugby. That is the hooter for the 80 minutes. Namibia have done just enough for the win. Zambia will be feeling they could have done better. But for a team that are expected to be marching on into the final, they have done well against Namibia today. Scrum feed and then to the back. Putted into touch by William Anthony Klazen for the last piece of play in this match. Namibia staying out of trouble against Zambia. They have managed to progress into the main cup semi-final by beating Zambia by 20 points to 12. Their opponent will be either Kenya or Uganda in the final quarterfinal later today. We will be taking a break for about 40 minutes.